Hello and welcome back everybody, this time here at the workshop of DEGUMA Schütz. First of all, a big thank you to everybody who has hung in there, who has stayed with us for this event. I hope you have enjoyed it so far. I want to apologize for any inconvenience that technical problems might have caused, but I'm glad that you're still here with us. So for the last part of our event, we would like to show you a practical comparison between a 60-year-old used machine, which is very similar to a lot of machines which are still in usage in over hundreds of factories all over the world, and our brand new DEGUMA Neo mixing mill. We would like to show you the advantages and the developments which we have taken so far with our new mixing mills, and for your information, a lot of the advantages that we are going to show you in the next couple of minutes on this new mixing mill can also be applied as a retrofit for any old machine. So if you're interested in any modernization or upgrades of your existing equipment, you might want to contact our sales department, and we are surely able to help you with a solution to update your second-hand machinery. So without further ado, let's jump into the main differences between those two machines, and we start off with the most obvious differences, which is the required floor space for a machine. Here for this second-hand machine, which has a standard configuration, it requires a space of roughly 6 by 2 meters, which is rather big. And on the other hand, we have the new machine over here, which only has a floor space of a little over 3 by 2 meters. So you can save a lot of space with this new kind of design. The next difference would be the gap adjustment. Over here on the old machine, we have a standard manual nip adjustment system by ratchets, which requires a lot of manual labor to adjust the gap. You have no automation, you have no display of the actual gap, so this requires a lot of input from the operator. And it also doesn't provide any help in terms of a safety emergency stop. You will not be able to open up the gap here with this kind of adjustment. On the other hand, for the new mixing mills, we have a hydraulic system which not only can be operated under load, so during mixing you can permanently adjust the gap, but it also offers a huge benefit in the moment of an emergency stop, because the cylinders will open up the gap up to 50 millimeters in less than 5 seconds. So this is a big safety advantage here. The next topic I want to talk about is the electric control system. Even though we have an updated and modernized control system over here for the used machine, this is a very standard, basic and simple configuration. It does not provide any kind of automation, no process stability. It's all depending on the operator. So there's limited possibilities to have a positive influence on your process. Whereas for the new machine, we do have a Siemens S7 PLC, a safety PLC nonetheless, and the operator can see all the processing parameters here on the display, and he also has touch buttons to operate the functionalities of the machine. So this is very convenient, and he can see all the process parameters on the screen. This gives you the opportunity to have automated processes where you can go so far as running an automated program cycle, and you also can connect this control system to your company server to upload any kind of recipes for your mixing process. The next topic, which I will cover later on in more detail, is the safety. So here we will show you some practical tests later on. So safety is a topic I will cover later. Next topic is the drivetrain. Over here on the second-hand machine, we have a standard layout where we have a standard AC motor, we have the clutch with the mechanical brake, we have a big spur gearbox, we have the pinion that drives the drive gear. The drive gear in that moment powers the back roller, and a pair of friction gears on the other side drives the front roller. So this is a very basic and standard configuration with limited influence on your production process, because you will always have a fixed friction ratio, and quite a lot of the power that you put in here from the motor gets lost on the way because of each gear pairing, of each bearing, of each seal. A little of your power will get lost. In turn, the new machine, we are using individually driven rollers with direct connection. So here you have two DEGUMA ETASYNC motors which are directly connected to each roller. Each one is individually speed variable, so you will have an infinitely adjustable friction ratio during your mixing process. Moreover, this system allows us to install both engines at the same side of the mixing mill, which is quite unique in the industry. Most conventional single drives, you will have one motor on one side and the other one on the opposite side, but this configuration has a big advantage because you will put a lot of less stress into the machine frame, because the torque which is being applied will cancel each other out because of these torque support arms, and you will put less stress into the machine frame, which in turn allows us to reduce the overall size of the machine and the frame size, because there will not be so much mechanical stress for the machine frame. Talking about the drives, I would like to give you a first-hand experience of what it is like in terms of their acoustics. So without further ado, I would like to start the engines on the new mixing mill, and you have to listen very carefully because it is awesomely quiet. So now we have started the machine and we can get to maximum speed, and there's almost no noise coming from this machine. So this is a big advantage here for the new machine. Let's see how good the old machine compares to the new one, and I will be starting the drives on this one as well. I hope you can hear that there's a noticeable difference in terms of the acoustics of the machine. This is a lot louder, and last but not least, we have the energy consumption. You can see here on the screen that the amperage in idle running mode is rather high, with a 45 ampere of energy consumption. And let's compare this to the highly efficient DEGUMA ETASYNC drives. You can see that even at full speed in idle mode, you only have like 8 amperes. So this is only 1/5 of the energy consumption of a used machine. And this kind of drive system will allow you to save a lot in energy costs. All right, now let's go on to the practical part of this demonstration. We will now go on to put material on the rollers. And at this point, I would like to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Compounding Technology from Germany. They did kindly provide us with the material for this test, so a big thank you to you guys. We really appreciate that. So what we first have to do now is manually reduce the gap size, because it is always beneficial to put the rubber onto the rollers with a small gap, because you reduce the stress on the rollers and also the load on the motor. So now we are going to apply the material. Okay, so this is a very standard, rather straightforward process. Nothing big to see here. The difference is that you have to manually adjust the gap before loading the material. Now let's see how it goes on the new mixing mill. Not a very huge difference, but here you can lower the gap, not manually, but with a simple touch of the screen. You can reduce the gap to 1 millimeter to put the material onto the rollers. So this is very easy and very convenient for the operator. Alright, so now that we have all of the material applied to the rollers, we can now demonstrate that even under load you can infinitely adjust the nip only by operating the touch panel or the hardware buttons. So please go ahead, Robert, and adjust the gap. We can select any value here. So the nip sets automatically, or we can use these hardware buttons to decrease the gap again. So this is very easy and convenient and a major advantage over the used mixing mill. So here you can adjust the gap permanently under load. Now let's try and do that on the old mixing mill. Robert is trying to adjust the gap. He's a very strong man, but he simply cannot do this. So what we have to do now is remove the rubber material from the rollers to then adjust the gap. Again, you will lose valuable time in your mixing process and it will require a lot of manual labor. Okay, so now it should be possible. Even then, it requires quite a lot of manpower to adjust the gap. So big advantage for the new mixing mill with the hydraulic adjustment. So now you can put the material back on the rollers with the adjusted gap and start with the mixing process. And this used machine does provide limited assistance in the mixing process. It's basically up to the operator to cut and move the material on the rollers. The machine cannot offer any help here. So everything comes down to the qualification and experience of the operator, and this is prone to human errors because each operator handles the material a little bit differently. Okay, so not much to see here. We may now move over to the new machine and see what we can do here. The new mixing mill, of course, does offer you a lot of possibilities. You can not only adjust the speed to make it faster or slower, you can also adjust the friction ratio infinitely during the mixing process. It is now set to an even speed of 1, but we can also set it to any kind of friction that we might need for our mixing process. So this helps a lot in terms of putting a lot of energy and temperature into your compound during the mixing, but you can also at any time reduce the friction ratio to help with the cooling. So here the new mixing mill, I don't know, wait a second. So if we now want to remove the material from the new machine, we do have an optional button here that sets the speed to a fixed lower value. In this case, my colleague, he can very easily take the material off, or he may be also able to cut off a strip to put it into a batch of, or to feed the stock blender. This is a very convenient functionality. You just press the button once and the machine sets to a lower speed. You press it again and the machine speeds up to the previously set production value. So this is a big advantage and very helpful feature for any new machine. So we might now want to take off all of the material, because I think we have shown everything that is necessary to be shown. And last but not least, while my colleague is taking off the material, we can also show you another great feature on this new mixing mill, which is the adjustable side walls. As he takes off more and more material, it is more difficult to take it off as a continuous sheet, so he can now adjust the side walls and move them narrow together so that the material can also be pushed towards a strip cutter. So if you have the strip cutter set in the middle of the rollers, you can now permanently feed the material towards your strip cutting device without the operator having to do manual labor. He just needs to use the two-hand controls to adjust the side walls. A very, very convenient feature. We can now set the speed a little bit slower so that it is easier for my colleague to take off the material. And voila, everything's off the roller now. Okay, we can see now how he has to do it on the old machine. Again, this old machine does provide little of help for the operator, so it is totally up to him to take the material off the rollers at a rather high speed, and there's no possibility to change the speed. Very limited functionalities. And this is not ideal in terms of safety, because he has to work quite fast to take off the material, and it can put a lot of stress on the operator if he's not that well trained. And also, if you're using a strip cutter to take the material off, the operator will always have to manually feed more material towards the strip cutter, because there's no functionality that automatically moves the material over to the strip cutter as you're taking more and more material off the rollers. Alright then, the material is off the rollers now, and the next and possibly the biggest topic that we want to cover are safety aspects. So first of all, we want to show you what will happen if there's an accident on this kind of second-hand machine. And even though we have a braking system and we have the safety bars, there will be some downsides. So let's see what happens if there's an accident. Oh my god, here it goes. So the operator is now trapped into the rollers, and there's only one chance how we can remove them. So we have to manually reverse the rollers. This is a functionality that even this used machine has. That's unfortunate. So we can remove the rollers, but there's no chance to open up the gap in case the reversal function is not working because of a power cutout. You have to then manually increase the gap to remove the person that is trapped into the gap. Alright, now let's see what can happen if we do the same procedure on our new mixing mill. Again, we are trying to simulate an accident on the mixing mill. So here goes our colleague, and he gets trapped into the machine. The emergency stop immediately opens up the gap by 50 millimeters within less than 5 seconds, so there's no need for any reversing of the rollers. The gap opens up automatically, and you can remove the person that is trapped into the gap. And these functionalities are also working in case of a power loss, because of the design of the hydraulic system, which has a pressure accumulator which can also be operated without electricity. Okay, so this was the safety aspects covered. Now there's only 2 points left I would like to talk about. First would be the cleaning of the machine. After working on it, there's always pollution on the rollers. We can see this here, and what needs to be done if the operator wants to clean the machine. First we have to wait a little bit for the machine to start up again for just a brief moment. Now the hydraulic pump is loading the pressure accumulator again, and as soon as it is loaded, the gap will be closed again. You can see this here in the display. The gap is now closing to the previously set value. And as soon as this is reached, you can start the machine back again. And then we are going to show you the advantages of this new machine in terms of cleaning, because whenever you're changing your compounds from one to another, or you may be changing the color of your compound, there's always some kind of contamination left on the rollers, and the operators will have quite a lot of work to clean the machine before you can put on the next batch. So this might cause a lot of downtime. But this machine has the great functionality of pneumatically retractable stock guides. So just by the pressing of a button, you can lift the sidewalls up and then you can clean them underneath. This is all well and good, but we have gone a little bit further, because what happens, you cannot start the machine if the stock guides are still up, because it is in cleaning mode. And typically, you would now have to lower the guides again to then move the machine a little bit further to clean the areas of the roller that you cannot reach at this very moment. But here we have a so-called cleaning functionality, which allows us to slowly move the rollers forward in inching mode. Well, this is not... So we are... No, this is not working. Two-hand operation. So we can now slowly move the rollers forward. This is no normal operation. This is called a cleaning mode. And you can now clean the areas of the rollers which were previously not reachable. And this is a very, very convenient feature that will come in handy for any operator who has to clean the machine a lot. This will reduce downtime during compound changes. The old machine, on the other hand, does not provide such functionalities. Here you have fixed sidewalls, so there's two options. You can either clean them by removing them completely, which takes a lot of time, downtime goes up, or your cleaning is simply not as efficient as it would be with a system like on a new machine. Okay, and the last topic I want to talk about is servicing of the machines. On the old machine over here, the main factor will be replacing the lubricants, mainly of the gearbox. So each year you will have to change the oil inside the gearbox, and this is easily 100 liters or even more for bigger machines. This takes a lot of time, is more expensive, causes a lot of maintenance costs. Same goes for the mechanical brake system. It will require a lot of maintenance and higher costs. On the new machine, this was designed with the idea to reduce the maintenance part as much as possible. For instance, we are using planetary gearboxes which only have an oil filling of a little over 6 liters. So an oil change is very, very quick and does not cost as much. The motors are completely maintenance free, so all in all, maintenance on the new machine is a big advantage compared to an old machine. Okay, so this was all for our practical demonstration. I hope it was somewhat interesting to you and you gained a little more knowledge about the differences between an old and a new machine. And like I said in the beginning, most of the features that we have shown as a big advantage for the new machine can also be applied to a second-hand machine. We as a company, we have a lot of experience doing such things. So if you're interested in improving the quality of your mixing room, you may want to contact us and we will surely be able to help you.
If you have questions later, you can write an email to deguma@deguma.com and we will be happy to answer them. Yes. Regarding these machines or any other machines we have in stock or we have knowledge about. And so we hope you had a great event with expanding knowledge and maybe some networking. And you are always welcome to visit us here in Germany at DEGUMA if it's possible, pandemic-wise of course. Just contact our sales team to make an appointment. And please remember to visit us at the German Rubber Trade Fair in Nuremberg next year, the DKT. There will be our 30th anniversary celebration, and we will have a so-called over 30 party. That's a typical German expression. And yeah, thanks for watching, and best regards from Germany.
Hope to see you soon in person. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Have a good day.